Jade's dad, 0.
Oh.
One.
Fuck, are you recording?
Yes.
Damn it. That wasn't even my best material.
Oh, no.
I'm hype. Sorry.
This music is
Yo.
feeling myself.
It's weird because, like, I get really hype and the music's going on. It's like smooth jazz.
I know.
It's like really
jazz?
relaxed. You like jazz? What's good, everybody? It's your boy Chris, aka SSJ Blockerod, aka Mr. Muckluck, aka the Great One, aka Mr. Shit I Played At. Shit! I'm hyped.
Damn.
Yes.
That was big preacher
There's
energy.
a little bit.
not?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My power level is over 9,000.
Apologies to the viewers. You may want to turn down your.
No. Post-production. They're not going to hear any of that. It's all going to be smooth.
Like our jazz.
Yes. And as you can see, we have our normal guest. Oh, not shit. I'm fucking up already. Co-host.
Noble guest.
Co-host Jade. How you doing? What's going on?
I'm swell. I'm even better now that I'm with these lovely people. I'm Jade, obvi. My Twitter is... my Instagram is Jade is Confused. My Facebook, obviously, Jade Cooley, because, I'm the coolest. And that's not on that. If you don't follow me, what are you doing?
That counts as one.
What?
That counts as one dad joke. Keep going.
What? No, there was a dad joke
That
there.
wasn't a dad joke.
wasn't a
That
dad
wasn't a
joke.
dad
Coolest.
joke.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah,
I
because
was
it's
just
my
fucking
dad's
with you.
name. Fuck. Technically, I guess no, it's not mine. It's mine. I chose to take it.
I was about to say, I thought it was. Okay.
Yeah, I could have been something else.
I was just fucking with you. I'm sorry.
Well, Morgan, how you
I didn't
doing?
mean to fuck that up. Hi, guys. It's Morgan. At HeyMo0731. I'm going to actually change that really soon.
And
It doesn't matter why.
And we have Velvet over there fighting, I think, what is a fly.
It was a fly, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all. There was a fly, and I don't like flies because, ew. Unless it's Jeff Goldblum. That's the only fly I like. Anyways, that's not the point right now. The point is I am Velvet. Follow me on Instagram at VLVETISABELX.
And Morgan, if you can, please introduce us to our very special guest of the episode.
Drum roll, please.
Oh, I don't have that sound effect.
It's okay. We're here.
All right, guys. So I've known this woman over here for about 5 years, almost 5 years. We met in college. This is my very good friend. She is famous on TikTok. She's a psychology major. She's just a great person in general. Ladies and gentlemen, Carrissa Victoria Ammons.
Wow, the whole name.
I was about to say, you're giving out my government. I've actually made a point to not put my last name on social media because, like, I have that one conceited thought that I'm going to make it one day. But at the same time, you could probably figure it out either way. So it's fine. It's not that hard to find.
It's on
My
Facebook.
government name.
My Facebook's set to where only my friends can find me. Like, you can't just search me if you don't have mutual friends.
Heard?
Oh, you could do that?
Yes, sir. But yeah, I'm Carrissa, aka Invisible Melanin on TikTok, as Morgan mentioned. Auntie Carl. That's pretty much it. That's me.
Yes.
All right.
I love it.
I do too. Literally every bit of it.
She's here to educate you guys. We're going to talk about albinism later.
And us as well.
Yes, and us, because there's some things that we may not know.
Yep. So before we jump into any of that, I got something to say. I got something to get off my chest.
Uh-oh.
Kanye, people surrounding Kanye, close people with Kanye. Like, if Kanye West is in your arm's reach right now, for one, give him a hug. I think he needs it. Two, let's take this, like, the mental health aspect of all of this super seriously. Mm-hmm. Kanye's having a meltdown right now. I want to bring up the tweets. The tweets are pretty wild. They're sort of out there, and they're not loading on my iPad right now. So that is unfortunate. But just going off of just things he said. He was saying stuff about how he never let his children pose for Playboy. He was saying
by that.
a lot of stuff about like white supremacy and Kris Jenner and
Everybody
how
knows that the movie Get Out is about me.
Yeah. What's another highlight?
He so like 2 days ago he made a tweet about he apologized to Kim because before, when he was speaking in public, he basically brought up the fact that he wanted Kim to have an abortion basically when she became pregnant, and he was like, I almost killed North, and was like crying and all this stuff, and like just threw that out there. And then 2 days ago made a tweet and apologized to Kim and said, I would like to apologize to my wife Kim for going public with something that was a private matter. I did not cover her like she has covered me. To Kim, I want to say, I know I hurt you. Please forgive me. Thank you for always being there for me.
Can we quickly shout out, and like this is something that like a lot of people sort of like, they bash Kim, they bash the whole like Kardashian family, but can't believe I'm saying this.
I know where you're going.
No.
A shout out to Kim for like, you said no?
I love her. And I'm surprised that you guys are surprised to say, like, she tackled like prison reforms. Like, she realized that she was in a position of like privilege, and she helped people who otherwise would not have been heard had she not have used her privileged position to shed light onto people who do not deserve to be behind bars. I think and she's funding politicians who are more of our age, so that way people who our age have representation in American government. Like, she's literally like, she's acknowledged a lot of the things she's done in her past. Like, she has released apology videos for appropriating culture, and for like, because we had a conversation about that privately, so I did a little research, and she's actually come out and apologized for it. But yeah, no.
I was saying, wait, you had a conversation with Kim Kardashian? Hold up, what?
Yeah, her stealing box braids, but like,
oh yeah, that happened.
What are we giving her props for?
Oh,
On Instagram, she posted a story.
So go ahead.
Okay, well, I don't have the story right in front of my face, but she was talking about how that she knows that Kanye is going through this, and that she is trying her best to do the best that she can, but at the end of the day, it's his choice what he ends up doing. She can't force him to do all that. And then she mentioned that she's keeping things private as she can up until that moment, because obviously Kanye really put out a lot of dirt. There was several tweets. It started literally, well, I mean, it's been on and off, but like it got the worst after his rally in South Carolina. There was several like weird tweets, and if you've read them, And so then, like Morgan said, he was talking about the abortion, and then he was talking about trying to reach out to Chris, and just several things. And she said she's been trying to keep it private because that is her family, and there's kids involved. So yeah, she's making mental sorry guys, mental health.
Y'all talking shit about me earlier in the pre-show, which y'all should check out on Facebook. But something else that she did was she also put out a statement that the Keeping Up with the Kardashians, like the TV crew, they are not allowed to be anywhere near the kids, anywhere near Kanye. Good for you. That's because this whole time I was thinking, oh man, this shit's gonna be like real on the TV show. Like, all this is for the TV show. So now that we're seeing that, I'm glad the cameras aren't gonna be there.
Good.
That's good. Carrissa, how you feel about this whole situation?
So a bit of a conspiracy theory.
Yes, let me get my aluminum foil hat. Put it on.
So I don't really have an explanation for up until now, but I used to be one of those people. I was really torn between if this was a PR stunt when it came to Kanye's antics, or if this was genuine mental health issues. So somebody actually brought something to my attention today that really got me thinking. The mental health issues have been consistent throughout, but they only let him truly have his Twitter when he's about to do something big. So then he can garner that attention for whatever. It's more of like a management and the people around him decision, as opposed to Kanye's just acting out so he can get attention for publicity for like his new projects. At the moment, I don't really have a theory for the current situation, but like I said, it would make sense if it's just been consistent throughout and there hasn't really been ebbs and flows as we once have thought.
I didn't think about that. That's a good ass point.
Heyo.
And who was I talking to? I was talking to a friend, and we were talking about how, like, once again, like, it's sort of like that conspiracy theory that, once he starts talking crazy, once he's on Twitter, we see the album cover drop, we see like the songs drop, but then you also have to think he's also doing the thing with Gap.
Yes.
Clothing money, music money. From what I understand, clothing money is like a lot more than music money. Like you like he but the thing is with everything that's going on right now, he is dropping the bag with his deal with Gap.
Yeah.
So once I saw that, once I like put the two and two together, that's when I'm like, all right, this is a mental health thing. Like this isn't him being normal behind closed doors and just doing this just for the views. No, this man really got a problem.
Even though he has a problem, obviously, I still think that he needs to be held accountable because we have like a lot of celebrities who have had problems. I mean, literally Britney Spears had a very serious problem.
She still has a problem.
Through it. Well, she's not allowed to go fix it herself.
so
That's the problem. But anyway, not the point. There have been a lot of celebrities who have had issues and we drag them and we all laugh about them, but he is getting kind of a pass, I've noticed, that nobody else I've really ever seen has. Like,
I think there's a reason for that. I think we're more understanding now about mental health because like Amanda Bynes and like Britney Spears, all that shit happened when we were young.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think he should be being made fun of. I do think he needs to be held accountable for a narrative he's pushing. Like, sobbing like that about abortions on national television is telling a girl somewhere who's sitting at home who is struggling with the idea of going to have an abortion so she does not bring the child into a poverty.
I think we can all tell that this is his like personal problem though. I don't think he's out here going, don't do abortion. I think he's just personally struggling with that.
Yeah, but then he brought up the story only as an advocacy against abortion. And that's the issue. And he has turned his back on the community. He has promised to serve and to uplift his whole entire career. Like,
he's always been kind of Republican though, because he was a Trump supporter.
Like he was all about. I mean, some of his songs were even targeted against like showing Black women love and uplifting Black women. And ever since like he has gotten more mainstream, there is not that same love being shown towards Black women. Like there's not that same representation or that same push for him to influence Black men to, embrace the Black female community. And that's like something I would like for him to acknowledge and to kind of approach. Well, I mean,
his whole last album was like a Christian album.
Well, I mean,
I think he's just going through it.
He's going through it.
He hasn't been the same since his mother
it's not
passed
just
away.
That, it's been since like 2010, 2012.
Yeah.
He's been like, he went from, in my eyes, it looks like he used the Black community to get him traction, and then he stopped referencing the Black community once it got convenient enough.
He's always
not
been
mainstream to.
That's never been a thing. What do you mean?
Well, I think him being a Trump supporter is kind of a slap in the face to Black people.
That's definitely a slap in the face. But I'll never say like Kanye West is like Uncle Tom or anything.
Well, no, but like the thing is like he literally. I used to go to. Don't mock me. I used to go to slam poetry a lot, and we used to watch other slam poetry, and I was not aware of this until a girl brought it up, and she talked about how he had promised to uplift the people from, very densely Black communities, and he had promised to show representation for Black women, and he wasn't going to marry into the oppressors, in his words. And how he was going to constantly show Black women love that Black women are not getting in mainstream media. It's usually the light-skinned Black women who are getting the attention. Dark-skinned girls don't really get the same love, and that's just facts. And ever since he got mainstream, ever since his music started hitting #1, he stopped really shedding that light. Like when he's specifically asked about it, he'll respond in a positive way, but he doesn't go out of his way the same way he did when he first started making music and first started having and developing a platform.
I think that's a perception thing. I don't think Kanye not being Black enough is the problem.
It's not a problem of him not being Black enough. It's a problem of him saying this is what my career is going to be about, and then it not being about that.
Okay.
I think it boils down to mental health though, because I think I can see like an ebb and a flow, and like there's a lot of conviction in a lot of things he does. Like he'll be passionate one moment and then just like seem completely out of touch with reality another one. Like I just think it just boils down to the more he starts to struggle with his mental health, the more like the less focus he can put on his initial goals that he set out to like achieve through his career. Because, speaking from somebody who just has like an anxiety disorder, well, not to minimize it, but who has an anxiety disorder, there's a lot of times where I mean well and I want to do the best for the people around me, but I can only focus on what the war going on in my head at the moment. So I have a lot of sympathy for the fact that he could have lost himself throughout all of this, especially like Morgan mentioned when his mother passed. There's a clear difference.
Yeah. Well, I guess because
he also signed on Tiana Taylor, and
Exactly.
Well, I guess because like I battle my mental illness like a little bit better than most people do. Like if you know me personally, you know the laundry list of diagnoses I have, but I constantly work towards it. So I guess I hold people to a really high standard when it comes to mental health issues.
You kind of feel like he's not trying to work on his shit.
But that's
the problem. Don't you think that holding someone that high up, like that's unfair to them because everyone's human. Like not everyone's gonna be perfect.
I can acknowledge that, but in that same breath, okay, Halsey, she literally has the exact same disorder. She suffered through a miscarriage and then went on stage almost directly after, and she has still continued to support and advocate for the communities that she promised to support and advocate for whenever she began her music
I didn't know
career.
that happened to her. Holy shit.
That's an exception, though. Not everyone could do that.
I'm not saying that's like everybody should be held to that standard, but within the past decade, I've seen Kanye apologize, lash out, apologize, lash out, apologize, lash out. I've not seen him apologize, lash out, apologize, and then try to do something differently. Like
he just is just going undiagnosed.
He has
There's
a lot of
people
yes
like
men
that.
around him.
Yeah.
It's not directly just him. It's about the fact that
Oh no, 100%.
people who are around him are just saying, yes, Kanye, it is fine that you go unmedicated. Yes, Kanye, it is fine that you don't go and get help.
Right.
Well, but that's what Kim said. I wish I had it screenshot.
She basically was saying like you can't force a grown man to go get help. You just can't.
Exactly. Hold on. You know what? I know Shade Room.
Shade Room has it. Like
exactly.
I had it, but it's on my phone, not my iPad.
That's the thing. Like,
But there are
he's a grown
ultimatums
man.
you can use.
Well, of course, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's still his choice. And oh my God, where it out.
I get what you're saying. Like, are the people around him truly trying to help him?
You can sit here and say, I can't make somebody do anything. But full disclosure, I have talked to my friends and sat them down. And once I one-on-one told them like, not everybody's going to respond the same way. I get that. But like I sat them down and I was like, look, after this long of me sitting here watching you do this, I really think you need to get help, whether or not it be a change in your personal behavior or it be therapy or it be something, you need to do that. And that starts by you as a friend holding someone accountable. The only reason why I've made the strides that I've made in my mental health is because I have parents at home who love the shit out of me, who tell me 24/7, you're doing this wrong or you're doing this wrong, and they tell me how to make it better. All right, so it's a collective.
I have the Kim Kardashian tweet. Well, it wasn't a tweet; it was her Instagram story. So this is in her words. As many of you know, Kanye has bipolar disorder. Anyone who has loved, who's had or have a loved one in their life who does know how incredibly complicated and painful it is to understand. I've never spoken publicly about how this affected us at home because I am very protective of our children and Kanye's right to privacy when it comes to his health. But today, I feel like I should comment on it because of the stigma and the misconceptions of mental health. Those that understand mental illness or even compulsive behavior know that the family is powerless unless the member is a minor. People who are unaware or far removed from this experience cannot be judgmental and cannot understand the individual themselves have to engage in the process of getting help, no matter how hard the family and friends try. So basically, unless they're a minor, you can't force someone to get help.
Nope.
You can't. The person has to be willing to go in and get help. So right now, Kanye, he's on this like power trip or whatever it's on or whatever it is. And until he says or until he like can see that he needs to stop and get help.
Yeah.
He's just going to keep going.
Yeah. She even posted more about it.
Yeah.
So after that one, she posted, I understand Kanye is subject to criticism because he is a public figure and his actions at times can cause strong opinions and emotions. He's a brilliant but complicated person who, on top of all the pressures of being an artist and a black man who experienced the painful loss of his mother and has to deal with the pressure and isolation that is heightened by his bipolar disorder, Those who are close with Kanye know his heart and understand his words sometimes do not align with his intentions. Living with bipolar disorder does not diminish or invalidate his dreams and his creative ideas, no matter how big or unattainable they may feel to some. That is part of his genius, and as we have all witnessed, many of his big dreams have come true. And there's more. We as a society talk about giving grace to the issue of mental health as a whole. However, we should also give it to individuals who are living with it in times when they need it the most. I kindly ask that the media and public give us the compassion and empathy that is needed so that we can get through this. Thank you for those who have expressed concern for Kanye's well-being and for your understanding. With love and gratitude, Kim Kardashian West.
That was good.
She's very well spoken.
Yeah.
I mean, while we do need to give people forgiveness and give people like that room to breathe when they have mental illness and they do have their outbursts, at some point, not expressing accountability results in them feeling as though this behavior is okay. The only reason why I stopped going into my episodes, because I would get to the point where I would lash out to, like, I would black out basically. I would start throwing things around my house and trying to cut myself with whatever I could find. Like, and it's, nobody would recognize me now if they would have seen who I was a year ago.
Yeah.
I was a fucking disaster.
How do you convince, what are like the people close to him supposed to do?
It's not about pleading with you. It's about eventually people looked at me, the people who loved me and saw that part of me, they drew a line and said, you cannot do this anymore. Because I cannot involve myself with it.
You don't think that they've had that conversation with him already? Like, I'm sure they've had some sort of conversation.
I'm sure that they sat there and had that conversation with them, but I don't think anyone has had that conversation where they have said either I have to remove myself from your life, because people have mental illnesses. That's fair. However, people who do not suffer from a diagnosis, you are also a human being. You are also going to feel the repercussions of whatever that person does. It's going to hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
And eventually, it's okay to say enough is enough. It is okay to say, you are a person. You know that you have a mental illness. So either you're going to A, do something about it, or B, not. But you're not going to hurt me in the process.
That's fair. That's fair.
You're allowed to say, you did something wrong. When he stole a moment from, I love her, no debates, Taylor Swift. When he stole that moment from her, and like lashed out the way he did, while he did have like a point behind it, he could have brought attention to it a different way. But it was a result of mental illness. Yeah. That is something we can forget.
So can I point out that that moment and the George Bush moment and let's see where
the multitude of moments.
Yeah, all of these are moments that people see and then sort of like we sort of egg into it. We sort of lean into it. We're like,
you know how
that's
hilarious
Kanye being Kanye.
You know how hilarious that was when he like cut off Taylor Swift? Like that shit was viral for like ever.
The thing is like that traumatized somebody. And like, but we
did it though? Is she really traumatized by that? Because she got so much fucking attention off of that.
She probably got a lot of it. Not all.
She got so much attention.
I get traumatized from attention.
But let's be real. Let's be real. Taylor Swift is just fine. She's got.
Say, Carrissa, what you got?
Go ahead. She literally references in songs and stuff.
She brings it up
reference
all the
my trauma
time.
for money if it was like, that deep.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm sure like in that moment she was like horrified.
I'm sure she was upset.
Now she probably doesn't give a fuck because it's made her lots of money. But the point is like we should forgive these moments. But forgiveness does nothing if there's not accountability. Forgiveness just says, okay, do it again. Accountability says, you've done this. We understand why. Do something about it. But for a decade, he's done nothing except for drift further and further from the Kanye that his fans supported in the beginning.
So I think this is not something that, because Kanye, he is in his tweet, like he said, "Get Out was about me." He is in what they call it. What do you call it in the movie? What they call it? What was it called? The sink. I don't know what the fuck the little void was called, but that's where Kanye West is right now. And I think it's up
the
to
underneath or like
something like that.
I'm thinking of the upside down.
Not Stranger Things, boo. Yeah. But, I never saw Get Out. Please.
Yeah, shame on you, Velvet, for not knowing.
I know. I should know.
Shame. But where was I going with this? Yeah, Kanye, he's in this, whatever this place is called right now, or that place. And it's up to the people that are really close. So, Kim, she's doing what she can, but I feel like this is still making them money. So, it's really up to them. It's up to management to be like, hey,
They're at a point.
let's not give him
right.
his Twitter account.
Yeah.
Let's not let him run for the president of the United States of America.
But
That's
they're
dead
at a
and
point.
I feel like that was a tweet that he was like, I'm just gonna say it and just run with it. And then his manager's like, let's see what happens. Let's see if we can increase these album sales. Let's see if we can get this, this Gap thing. What is it?
The sunken place.
Sunken place. Fuck, I would have never got that. Forgot. Yeah, that was.
See, the thing is, they have enough money though to where they really don't.
They don't need
him,
it.
But they don't need him to do that to make more money.
But Jeff Bezos, he doesn't need any more money, but he made like 17 billion in a weekend.
Yeah, but the thing is, he does it without
Billion
having to do extra
with a
stuff.
B.
Literally, if they wanted
With
to
a
make that much
B.
more money,
That's a lot.
Keep going.
yeah, if they wanted to make that much more money, all that they would have to do is get Kim to post a picture of box braids again, and they're right back at it.
But I
like
don't
literally,
think
it's not that deep. All
I
they've
don't think
gotta do-
that's what this is.
But
I
at
think
the
he's
same
just being
time,
manic.
but at the same time, Kim, she's building this, this character of like her giving back to the community, her doing this, that, and the third. If she's apologized for that before, why would she do it again?
But I mean,
Well, why not?
what I'm
Why
saying,
not
though.
throw Kanye out to have Kanye do Kanye things and make money off of that?
why don't we really just kind of take a step back and not really think that maybe there isn't malicious intent behind them?
I don't think so.
Maybe
At all.
it isn't about making money.
I think it's half
maybe
and
it's
half.
about the fact that she actually loves this
Kris
man,
Jenner
but he
is,
has kept. Kanye has made sure Kanye's things are Kanye's things. They do not belong to the Kardashian family. Kanye has been very smart about that. That is one of the main things that he focused on. And if Kanye wants to do something, there's nothing really that Kim legally can do to stop him from doing it, which is why he can't. Like, he's not got managers or producers saying he can't post on Twitter. He could get someone to go buy him
So
a
what
phone
you're
and bring
saying
him
is,
one whenever
if
he
Kim,
wants to.
if Kim Kardashian was like, "Hey, I'm taking the kids," like,
Yeah, I'm going to restrict you to visitation until you acknowledge
would that not snap him into reality?
That
if Kim K was like, all right, we are going to, like, I'm not gonna say shun you, but like there are things they could do.
we will work with you when you work with yourself. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They need to be doing. That's what they're not doing. However, I don't think it's so much of Kim saying that she doesn't. A lot of times people don't do that, not because they're like not wanting you to get better and they think that you're going to make them more money. It's because I so passionately believed that whenever I was in my manic episodes, that was who I am. This is who I was. And it was what made me me. And if you want to change that, then you are against me and you hate me. That was what I thought. Until someone pulled me inside and said, if who you are loves us, then this version of you cannot continue to exist because it's dangerous. And when I got slapped in the face like that, I realized it hurt me at first to hear that because I was like, why are all these people against me?
You said it right there. I feel like a lot of this stuff like stems down to that person figuring it out for themselves, seeing it for themselves, seeing shit. I need to change.
But nobody's going to see it until someone tells you.
No, not
But
until
that's
you
the
see
thing.
it. You have to see
They
it.
could probably have told him all throughout these years that he's been having these these episodes.
Yeah,
But the thing is, until he realizes that what he's doing is affecting them in a negative way, and he can see that, he's not going to do anything about it.
It's kind of comparable to like a girl that won't get out of like a relationship that she knows she needs to get out of, and her friends keep telling her, "Girl, come on, this dude ain't shit." Like she's not gonna listen until she finally figures it the fuck out for herself. Like, okay, I need to fucking leave. It's the same. It's kind of the same concept.
When you take a step back from your medication for a minute, it's like the person who you are that balances all of these things becomes a secondary character. It's things you have to reach for. It's ideas and concepts that you have to force into creation. So the further and further you go into time without being medicated and without treating your illness, the farther away that person becomes. And then your views become distorted and everything feels falsified to a degree because it's like your source of identity is like so responsive to emotion that your identity can't exist without some type of A, trauma, or B, very great circumstance in your life. You have to be in an extreme situation to feel at all. And I think when it comes to Kim, for a long time, she loved him so much that she did not want to break his heart by saying, the person you are is hurtful and it damages us. So she took a step back instead and thought, you can breathe this out due to her lack of education with mental health, because not a lot of people, we all just agreed at the beginning of this, we just started getting educated. So because of her lack of education with mental illness, she probably did not reach out and speak to him like that about it at first.
Right.
And then once she did, it was so distant that it really didn't register, but she hasn't gone to the extremity in which he is feeling.
Yeah.
Have you noticed he only is interactive when there's extreme situations?
Well, no. I think he's like this when it makes sense for him to be like this. And that's the problem. Granted, right now he's dropping a bag of Gap, and I'm mad because I invested some stocks in Gap. That shit's going down.
Because of Kanye?
So, but in all seriousness, I hope and pray for Kanye West. I hope that,
I hope he gets help.
Yeah. So this is something that, we're still in the middle of, because apparently he's still running for president. So
he can't. He joined too late. There's no way.
Late. Yeah. So
all he can do is get written in.
So there's certain states. Here's the thing. So there's certain states where he's not allowed to be written in because it's too late. There's certain states where there's certain states where it's just like it's just too late.
He was posting on Twitter talking about I can beat Biden with write-ins.
No, he can't.
No,
there's another thing.
It's not gonna happen.
Him doing the thing. It was South Carolina.
Yes.
Him doing that thing to get the votes or the signatures. Tell me why the day after he didn't even put the signatures, like he didn't turn them in. Like this.
I think it's just a manic episode. That's all it is.
If Kanye can say that he's smart enough to, I wore the Make America Great Again hat as a scheme because then I was allowed in their little club. That's what he said, basically. Yeah. If he's smart enough to do that, then he's smart enough to market his mental illness. I mean, I was smart enough to market my mental illness whenever I was doing it.
So, this is going to be a story that may explode or may just like go off, and then he'll put out his album, and then we won't hear from him for another couple months. But please, in that meantime, let's get some help. This week, we have another icebreaker. This icebreaker is, oh no. I got it. Go ahead.
When you get married, ladies and gentlemen, whose last name are you going to take? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go ahead, Chris.
Ready for my hot take?
Yes.
Always. So, thank you. My hot take is we're going to keep my last name. Because it's just typical. For one, typical. I mean, it is what it is. I want to keep my last name. I don't want to do the hyphenation. It's for one, I hate spelling my last name or typing my last name because it's so long. Half the time, my first name and last name barely fits in those characters. And two, if I'm gonna add a hyphen to it, it's gonna be even longer. I'm not gonna fucking do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna have my kids go through school to do that. That's bullshit.
So you don't want to hyphenate your children's names?
No. Let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
But if my wife has a dope ass last name,
oh yeah,
like Ryder.
No, like if you watch Love Is Blind, Lauren Speed, she was that was my crush right there. Speed? That's a dope ass last name.
That was the best couple.
I would have been like, yo, all right, Speed, Chris Speed.
Chris
I like
Speed.
It. Yo, all right, that's a ring to it.
Chris Speed.
It sounds like a race car driver's name or something. Chris
Something
Speed.
like that. Yeah. So I go with that.
Crown cheat.
There it goes.
There goes one.
But yeah, that's my hot take. Yeah. Anybody?
What about
Shocker.
Carrissa?
I'm definitely an exception to a lot of opinions because I didn't have a very good connection with my father's side of the family. So I was very excited to get rid of my last name. For anyone who's listening, I am married. So
sorry, fellas.
Losing my last name I didn't have any personal connection to it. However, my actual opinion on it is it really depends. If you love somebody, compromise is essential to any relationship. So I think it's kind of superficial to say just immediately, no, I'm not going to take my partner's last name regardless of gender. I think it is a compromise. Let's say there's a woman, she is so passionate about her lineage, but you don't really care that much. You're like, it is
she
what
it is.
She
has to be a fucking princess.
No, you can be proud of your family and your heritage and not be a princess.
A Disney princess. Or some sort of
Okay. A duchess?
A duchess.
Oh my God.
Oh yes.
Are you a prince? What makes your last name so special?
Oh,
Oh,
Your name is like, didn't you say your name is like spelled wrong technically?
It's spelled wrong.
It's
That's why I
spelled
like
wrong.
it.
Defective.
Yes. No, it's special. Yeah.
Special. That's my opinion, though. It's a compromise. Take it by situation.
Velvet.
Me? Okay, we're going in order, I guess. Okay, so I would hyphenate, but I have a reason. As a Hispanic woman, any and everybody that I know has 4 names, and I always hated that I didn't have 2 last names.
Oh.
Wait, why don't you? Because aren't you supposed
Okay.
to take your father's and mother's last names,
Yes.
but one goes before the other, correct?
Yes. So, you're supposed to take your father's first and then your mother's last.
Okay.
So, but like when you would use it, like more often you would use your father's, obviously. But so that was always like a thing for me. I don't have my mom's last name because it's not something that's common here in the United States. You could do it, obviously, like when you sign the birth certificate. You
Can I
do it,
ask?
but-
So let's say if you had your mother's last name.
Mm-hmm.
When you get married, does it become like a? So now it's like 2 last names.
you have 3 last names?
Do you have 4 last names if you
No.
marry another?
So your mother's name would fall off. I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure your mother's name would fall off.
And then it would be
And then you would get your husband's name. And so then it would be some shit.
Because you both have 2 last names, so you
Yeah.
take his last name?
No, his father's last name.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
Okay. So let
So
me
the
just
father's last name still kind of like has more weight, I guess,
yeah,
than the mother's last name.
I mean, it's
Kinda
just like
with
over here, yeah. And the father's name always
That's
holds weight.
sexist. That's sexist.
Honestly,
That's how it's
like
always
that?
been,
It's
boo.
sexist.
honestly,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
No.
it is. But however, that was always like something that like defined like a Hispanic person is like having several names. And so I only have 3: my first name, my middle name, and my last name, which is my father's name. So like to me, like I don't know, like I would love now to have my mother's last name.
So you know what? If that was your reason to hyphen the last name,
Mm-hmm.
I would do that.
Compromise. There it is.
See, it's all about It's about communication.
Yeah.
I would have like, you know what? That's cool. I respect that. That's dope.
Yeah.
I
That's why
changed my
Are you-
answer.
Are you saying like both of you would hyphenate?
Yes.
How does that
that's
work?
How a
Is it-
marriage
yeah.
works.
They
Because
both-
typically a lot of times only the woman will hyphenate her maiden name and then her last name,
Mm-hmm.
and then the man just keeps his regular old last name.
That shit's confusing.
So that's what I
didn't
thought
know
y'all
that.
meant. It's literally up to choice.
So yeah, it really like okay, well yeah. So like when speaking about that, like obviously my husband would not take my last name. I would think that's weird because that's my father's last name. Why would you take my father's last name?
No,
Like, you
I
see what I'm
thought that's what it is. I thought it was.
Well,
why we gotta
No.
take their father's
Why
name?
would you take
here's-
my
Straight up
father's
take
last
it.
name?
Oh, yeah,
so,
that's weird.
Yeah, so that's weird. So that's why I wouldn't want my husband to take my last name. However, I would take his and hyphenate mine. So like he wouldn't have to hyphenate his. He could just keep his regular schmegular name. But I would
Yeah.
hyphenate mine to have the 4 last names.
Regular
and also
schmegular.
just yeah. And also just to like, what's the word I'm looking for? Respect the family,
Yeah.
I guess, what
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
saying?
so in my humble opinion, marriage has honestly been founded on a constitution of the suppression of womanhood, from what I've noticed.
She's not wrong. I
know
mean,
she's-
to be
that's why
quite
I'm
honest,
laughing.
like
Well, I mean,
marriage was like men selling their daughters to people, and that
let's-
was what marriage was.
Let's talk about
so
the
I feel
union
that.
of man and woman in Christianity.
That's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about last
well,
names, boo
well,
boo.
yeah, but womanhood stems from the rib of a man. You created woman after
Oh,
man,
I get where
and
you're
then
going.
woman was the downfall of man,
Yeah.
and now women have to bear punishment for the rest of eternity by bearing children.
And then we have to take the man's last name.
Bullshit. So, if I am to be married and to give into that establishment, I'm most definitely going to change the tide because if I get married, I'm going to want children, and I want my children to see that my marriage does not come from the construct of the erasure of my womanhood, and it will be my last name. I'm going to make sure that, I spent 20 years being called the wrong fucking thing. You're going to say my name, all of it. So like,
I feel that.
whenever I get married, it will be a Cooley household because I am choosing to carry on my heritage or my leniency, or my children are going to be called Coolies as well. And they will run around and, rule the earth and do it all under the Cooley name.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's me. And
So that's why like Carrissa said, it's like a case by case type of thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I love that.
I'll say is this fourth option? Is this a thing? Can two people get married and then completely make up a new last name?
Oh my God, yes.
Some people though,
Yeah, that would be dope.
we're not talking about the fact that some people just keep their separate last names. Like celebrities do it all the fucking time and
But
just keep their own
celebrities,
last name.
That's like their name out there. That's like their stage name.
So, but regular people do it.
Like
Because they think they're celebrities. They're not.
No, it's because they want to keep their last name.
yeah. Well, I mean, to me, the name Cooley means a lot to me because my morality comes from my parents, Mickey and Richard Cooley. My ideals come from them. Basically everything about me that makes me the proudest of me comes from my mom and dad. It comes from the fact that I had people who will tell biological family because I'm not biologically related to them, they'll tell biological family who has been involved with them for their entire lives that they no longer want anything to do with them because they're not showing one of their children support. And when I have children, I want them to come from that tribe. I want them to come from that clan of people. I want them to know what it means to be a Cooley. I want their morality I want when they see their name or sign their name to be a reminder of their status and of their importance and their value in this world. It's because they are a Cooley, because Coolies fight their asses to get to where they want to be and they treat people with respect.
That's deep.
And I want my marriage to be founded on the constitution of both of us working towards something, both of us making sure that women are uplifted because we are so often silenced.
Yeah.
I definitely think that's one of those beautiful situations where unless the husband had just as good of an argument, there'd be no reason not to take your last name.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most, unless there was a man who came to me and said, I want you to have my last name involved because it's my mother's last name. Hyphen that shit because she's been silenced too. My thing is, I want to have the.
Well, what if he was like really passionate about this? What if he was like raised by his father and like loves that lineage? Like, what
Google your father?
Huh?
If my children want to know about it, they'll just Google the father. I mean, the thing is,
but that in itself, that's unfair.
Isn't it actually
like,
easier though to find out like your like ancestry with like your father's last name? Like, you know what I mean? Like with the father, grandfather, all that. Like it's easier to find your.
So that's not right to sort of erase the fatherhood?
Well, it's not about erasing fatherhood. See, okay, when it comes to the relationship between man and woman, from what I've noticed is a lot of men's issues come from, a lot of women's issues come from being told we are not able to do this. And men are usually the ones saying we are not able to do this. And then men take on that responsibility themselves. And then when they start to fail at it, they start to spout, well, look at everything I have to do. Nobody asked you to do it in the first place.
But
nobody asked. So like it's.
So what about the last name thing?
The reason why I bring that up is that women so often, the accomplishments that men have are always jotted down. They're always jotted down because they're constantly being used to further silence women. And from my experience, from history's point of view, my purpose in taking a woman's name and putting a woman's name in a place of power is because I want to change history. I want to reverse history. I want to make up in my marriage and in my family because we stand for something or you'll die for nothing. So what I want to stand for is women being heard. I want to make up for every woman who sat at home in the 40s or in the 20s and washed dishes, raised children, did it all while working a job at night and didn't ask for shit in her return. I want to make a I want to stand for every woman who was told no, that they couldn't do something because their husbands were already doing it. Or every woman who was overspoken, or every woman who was told not to do something in general because of being a woman and how sexism has systematically oppressed women in our society. I want to be that erasure.
I am by no means like a traditional person, but I do feel like there's a bit of black and white thinking in that because our lifespans are pretty short. In the 20s and 30s, the women were at home, they were cleaning dishes, they were doing all the things you said, but having such a strong stance is kind of erasing all of the good men that are alive today and saying like, your name can be in the book next to them. It's kind of like we're striving for equality, not superiority in a sense. So like you're kind of erasing like the good men's like such as my husband. Like, I'm proud to take his last name, not because of his lineage, but because he has had such like a profound impact on my life, and I wouldn't be where I am today without Tyrus Ammons. And I'm proud to have that last name because of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, women are still waiting in line. That's why I want my marriage to stand for that.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with saying that there aren't good men, because saying there are good men, there are good white people. When we say white people, we're not talking about all white people. We're talking about those white people. So I'm talking about those men.
Morgan, what you got?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay. I kind of like don't have a preference. Like, I low-key don't really like the way my last name sounds. Like, Eldridge is not like an attractive sounding name to me. So
I've misspelled it multiple times.
honestly, that's true. People don't know how to spell it, and for some reason, like, it's not even that hard.
It's not.
It's really not. It's spelled how it sounds. But like, I also don't have a relationship with my dad, so it's kind of just like, if my husband's last name sounds better than mine, I'm just gonna take it, because I don't really care about my last name that much. And honestly, like, yeah, I don't have a connection with it. But you know, like Carrissa said, it's a case by case basis. So not everybody. There's different answers for everyone, but I don't care.
Mrs. is whenever someone's single, right?
Miss.
Okay.
Miss is single.
whenever-
Mrs.
okay.
is
So
married.
whenever someone says Mrs. So-and-so, it's often associated with her husband.
the husband's last name.
That's
right.
her husband's last name.
I'm fine with that.
Because of the already pre-existing foothold that sexism has in our society, whatever my husband does is going to be acknowledged for what he does no matter what. Whenever I do something or I accomplish something, that's my name on that. That's my name written down.
Okay.
That is, it belongs to me. I chose
I
before
get-
my marriage to be
I get what you're
addressed.
saying. You want to
What
keep
about,
your
what about like
name.
so? Oh,
And as
I
and-
could,
Yeah,
I was
you
about
want
to- I
to
was-
keep your name.
Yeah.
yeah, and I
Definitely.
mean, I'm not saying that all women should just like
Should keep their names,
keep
no.
your last
What about
name.
like athletes like Serena Williams? Granted, she like kept her I don't know if like his like I said before, a stage name or like a you know whatever, but Serena, she like fucking kills it in sports. We
Yeah.
look at what she's done. We don't really look at her
Or
name or
If
her
she had
band.
taken, if she had taken her husband's last name, nobody would care.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Tina Turner? She has her husband's last name, Ike's last name, and even though she hated him for what he did to her, she still kept that name because that's what they knew her as. They didn't know her regular name.
Because
Exactly.
that's what she made
yeah.
herself as.
So
Even though it was connected to her husband,
if you're doing
but-
great things, like I'm not gonna be like, yo, you did great things, but
Yeah.
your husband though.
Yeah, but I'm saying like I think like for
I feel like
the,
you're putting too much weight maybe on like
well, I
a
think for
name.
but I think for the 5 to 10 years that this atmosphere has existed does not make up for the years and years and years that it didn't. Like for us, we maybe feel like, okay, when a woman has an accomplishment in 2020, it's not as often like overlooked as it used to be whenever there's a male present. However, I am still less likely to get hit on. If I tell somebody I have a boyfriend, they're less likely to hit on me than they will if I say I'm not interested. If I tell somebody that I am a miss instead of a Mrs., they're going to acknowledge the presence of my husband and ask where he's at.
you can still be a
Like,
wait.
I was say there's still some
Wait a second,
scumbags out
hold
there.
on.
They don't care.
Wait. Hold on. If you get married though and you still keep your last name, you can still be a Mrs.
But I mean, it's
What are
more
you
of
talking
like
about?
it's just the example that I'm placing, like of like men marriage stemming from a place of ownership of women from men.
But it's not like that anymore.
It's not
That's
like
how it
that
originated, but it's
anymore.
not like that anymore.
But like what
that's
I was
not what
saying
it's about.
was I want my marriage to stand as a symbol for all of the women who sat at home and forgot who their fucking grandma was because they didn't know their grandma's last name and had to look out of a window in their kitchen and that was their life for their whole life.
I was gonna ask, would you take your mother's maiden name?
Ironically, I did not know my mother's maiden name until I was late high school because my mom passed away whenever I was 5.
Well, I mean, like,
But no, the thing is, I did not know her maiden name, her her name that she was given at birth, until way later in life. I still technically do not know my abuela's last name. I know the name that she was given after she was married.
so wait, so was Cooley your original?
I'm adopted,
Yeah.
so that's my adoptive mom and my adoptive dad's name
Okay.
because that's my family.
Okay.
And my mom chose that name. She chose to have the last name Cooley because she said that she wanted to take her husband's name and claim it as her own and then create an ideal image of what she wanted her life to be. And basically Cooley being her name attached to her first. Mm-hmm. She took it as a personal challenge. And like, the thing is I respect women's choice for the last name situation today because you have that option. That's why I say it's valid.
That people have
I am choosing to go against the grain because there were women who did not have that option to tell their husband it's my last name or it's not a last name at all. And I want to take that power that they were never even allowed access to and just really tackle it, because without them, 4 of us would not be sitting in this room having this podcast or even talking about our opinions. And it all stemmed from male supremacy. And I
get that.
I look at my relationship as I keep male supremacy in check 24/7 because it's so subconsciously inserted into our conversations and into society that it needs to be constantly acknowledged or else it won't completely go away. We've made strides, but we have progress to make, like, seriously.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the point of the podcast, guys. Like, I enjoy, you questioning that stuff and you like, checking it every time you can. Because I'll sit like, and you guys can watch it. You'll see me. I'll sit here. I'm like, well, you know what? That makes sense. So, yeah.
Well, also, I don't think you have really had the opportunity, because growing up, I had a lot of women who would pull me aside and be like, they would mention the suppression of their early marriage that we weren't allowed to hear today. That we weren't allowed to hear then because they weren't allowed to be vocal about it. Mm-hmm. So they probably didn't have the same comfort telling another man about that.
Man, 20 years from now, shit's going to get wild. That's all I know. Like, the things are going to be, like, turned upside down. And that's good. We need things to be shaken up and everything. So, yeah, that is the icebreaker for the week.
That was a good one.
Definitely.
So we're going to go ahead and jump into our unfortunate fact of the week.
You guys are going to hate me. I say this every time, though. I say this every time. Like, I always think people are going to be mad at me.
I'm not ready.
Okay.
I'm excited.
All right. So some of you may have heard this already. But for those of you who haven't, about half of koalas in Australia have chlamydia. They actually, yes, it's actually, so it's a different strain than what, people would get. But it's about half of the koala population in Australia. They have chlamydia.
So they be getting
So not
down.
koala of them.
So, but how they get it right, they can get it from sexual transmission, obviously. And then also
out there.
the babies will eat like feces sometimes and get it that way.
Ooh, y'all eating shit.
Another thing I was going to also say about this is that, because people wonder, like, oh, can a person get it from a koala? Like, if a koala pees on you, like if they happen to like urinate on you, you could get it.
What y'all trying to fuck koalas for anyway?
No. So like the koalas didn't initially get
she
it
said
from
pee. I was like,
people.
is this R. Kelly or something?
Yeah.
How do you get chlamydia? Like through sexual transmission.
It's a different type of chlamydia though. They get it from each other. It's like a koala type of chlamydia, but it's very, very similar to what we have.
Yeah, so we don't meet the qualifications.
Okay, you got one more?
It's unbearable. Okay.
So yeah, guys, that's the fact, and I'm sorry if I ruined koalas for you guys.
I didn't really
I sincerely
like them anyway.
apologize. I think they're
honest.
cute. They're less cute now to me.
They're disgusting. Anything that lives in the wild that's super fluffy is fucking gross.
No, I just know they're out there fucking. That's what I said.
No.
God.
Fucking disgusting.
All animals do though. It's just somehow I don't know how
Everything fucks, Chris.
I don't know how they originally got chlamydia, but they do. Lots of them do. So don't let a koala pee on you guys.
I do know that koalas are the ones that eat mostly eucalyptus, right?
Yes.
And I think that's why the babies eat the feces.
Eucalyptus?
Because eucalyptus has like is really like poisonous.
They live in eucalyptus trees.
Yeah, and so like if say like a dog or something ate like a eucalyptus leaf or something, it would like fuck it up, right? But koalas have like a better digestive system, and that's why the babies eat feces to get them used to the eucalyptus plant. So,
But they be getting chlamydia.
but yeah,
So a lot of the times, I think it's the babies getting it from eating the feces, and then it just
spreads.
If I'm being honest, I never paid attention during sex ed because I figured, I'm probably never really going to enjoy sex. So I'm not even, why does this pertain to me? But like, what does chlamydia do to you?
I actually don't know the symptoms because I haven't looked entirely into it because I've never had it. But I know it's curable first of all. But I don't know the side effects
fatal?
of
So
it.
okay,
no,
I know,
no.
and I don't know this because I've had it. I know this because I paid attention.
Yeah, she is educated on it. Apparently.
Well, it's good. We should all be educated on sex
Okay, so
ed.
chlamydia
But-
may not necessarily have any symptoms, to be very honest.
Okay.
So, but it does have side effects. I know with women, is that chlamydia? Yeah, I think it's chlamydia. With women, it could mess up like your fertility and whatnot. So you can like not be able to get pregnant. if
Win.
you-
That sounds like a win.
well, not for everybody.
For everyone.
Exactly. So, so yeah, I do know that's a side effect. As far as anything else, I don't know.
So
I
that's
do-
one
but
of
I
those
do know-
things that you don't really know you have it
Well, I
until you
mean,
get tested for it. Sort of.
it's better. I
Yeah.
guess getting chlamydia for them is better than dying from eating a tree. So
Yeah,
party. Good for you, koalas.
I guess. Next.
All right. Now we got Velvet's movie recommendation. What you got for us this week?
All right. So this week's movie is a very long movie, but it's such a good movie, and I feel like it's very not necessarily. Well, yeah, it could be relevant to a lot of things going on right now. It's called Blood In, Blood Out, 1993. I love this movie. It is such a good movie. It's about this kid who he has a white parent and a Mexican parent, and then he mostly identifies with his Mexican side. And then so they're in this like gang, right? And basically like throughout the whole movie, like you can see like twists and turns, and like they literally all three of them end up like completely like the opposite of how they like started off in the movie. And there's a lot of like racial tension in this movie. There's a lot of most of it is taking place in a prison, and it's fucking wild. It's really, really good. Benjamin Bratt is in it. If you guys know who he is, he's in it. Chris is like, okay, but no, I promise it's really good.
What's it called again?
Blood In, Blood Out.
Okay.
Sangre por sangre.
I'm gonna watch it.
No, it's really good. It's really long though. I will say that it's really long.
Like
It took-
a 3-hour long movie.
Yeah, the first time I made my mom watch it, it took her 2 days.
I watched The
because-
Sound of
She
Music.
couldn't sit through the whole thing.
No, she couldn't. She's like, "Can you take a break?" But no, it's really good. Sorry.
Yeah, I watched The Sound of Music, and if I can sit through that, I'll make it.
Or Titanic. Titanic's a long ass
I never
movie.
watched Titanic.
So
I'm not sorry
Watch
about it.
Avengers
He could have
Endgame.
fit on that fucking door.
If I can make it through Endgame.
And if I've already seen memes about him being able to fit on the fucking door, I don't want to fucking watch it.
Don't get me started.
You know, there's a science to that whole debate. I'm not going to talk about it.
About
I'm just
whether
saying
or not
there is.
there's
Yeah,
some-
I'm
we'll
not
talk
gonna
about that
fucking talk
later.
about it. Yeah.
Well, so like, is it in favor of my opinion that he could have fit on the door
yeah,
and survived?
yeah, oh, yeah,
Okay,
totally,
cool. Then
yeah.
I'll look into it.
Yeah.
So to rate the
not
movie,
looking into that.
I will give it a, without being biased, probably like an A minus.
Wow, that's really
good.
high.
Still passing.
Yeah,
And
it's
It's a good
honors.
movie. I agree with her.
It is
actually.
a really good movie. There's a lot you can learn from it, and there's a lot of emotion in it. Oh my God, is there a lot of emotion? And I don't mean that like as far as like there's some really, really sad parts that even like just me thinking about it right now is making me like really sad because it's so sad.
I cry easily anyway, and that movie made me cry. So
Yeah, but it's not all just like a snooze fest either. Like I promise you, there's so much going on in that movie. And it was just kind of like I don't know if you guys paid attention last week when I was talking about The Departed, and I told you that there's comedy, drama, all that other shit. Same thing with this movie. It's all in there. So definitely
Do
take
you know
your time
where
watching.
people can find it?
Oh shit, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm sure you could find it on Amazon Prime.
Oh, I love
Amazon has fucking
Amazon.
everything. So, I should probably know that, but I don't. So, I don't know, guys. I really don't. I think Amazon has it. But definitely check it out. Let me know how you guys feel. Send me a DM. We could talk about it. If you guys still get like DVDs, it's at Walmart for $5.
Have you realized like DVDs are very cheap? Like they're cheap.
Yeah, because streaming.
Like when I bought Hereditary on DVD, that's only
That
a
was my
2-year-old
movie for
movie.
next
It was $4.99 on Amazon. It was not expensive.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like movies are not that expensive because nobody really buys DVDs like that anymore.
Oh, apparently it's on YouTube, guys.
Oh,
Okay.
Don't watch it on YouTube though.
Why not?
So
I mean, no. I mean, like not like YouTube. Like I mean, like YouTube.
They have
YouTube,
they have
or
like
YouTube
different
Red?
parts.
No,
It's
it's
just like
apparently
or you
the
can
full
rent it
3
on
hours.
YouTube.
Yeah.
but you got to pay for it.
I
Yeah.
watch movies on
No.
YouTube.
Oh.
no, it's just
It's
on
like
there.
the movie.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
watch
movie.
it because, you know,
You can like rent or buy
piracy
movies
is
on
not a
YouTube.
victimless
No,
crime.
but that's not what I'm
It's not
talking about.
renting,
It's
on regular
like
YouTube.
straight up
No
free.
one.
it's bootleg.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. Don't watch it on this.
shit.
Piracy is not a
YouTube.
victimless crime.
Watch it.
or if YouTube has like the actual version, because I've definitely watched
Yes.
movies on YouTube. Before.
No, I know what
they
you're
do.
talking
I
about.
paid to
Red
watch
has-
a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
James
Yeah.
Charles was like, honestly, an icon whenever he made his TV show free for people in quarantine. That was like YouTube Red, like specific. Not the point. Okay, anyway.
But yeah, don't watch it on the one that I just stopped.
Yeah, go to Amazon.
Pay for it.
Give
No,
credit
it's
where
definitely worth it. 3 hours, but I mean, if you're one of those types that can't sit through a whole movie like my mom, take your time. It's worth it. And oh, you know who else is in it? Oh my God, y'all seen Chuck and Larry? I'm not pronouncing Chuck and Larry.
Yes, I love that movie.
You know the firefighter, the gay black one?
Yes,
He's in it. God, I forgot his name. Anyways,
I love him.
good movie.
Okay, so
Let me know
this
how you
is
feel
not
about
a
it.
normal segment. I just wanted to bring this up. It was something I found out this week.
Okay.
Modern slavery is a multi-billion-dollar industry with just the forced labor aspect generating U.S. $150 billion each year. The Global Slavery Index of 2018 estimated that roughly 40.3 million individuals are currently caught in modern slavery, with 71% of those being female and 1 in 4 being children.
Okay.
I wanted to bring that up. That was all. Just kind of show a little bit of awareness. My mom very rarely tells me to talk about stuff on the podcast, and she told me to just shoot that fact out there. So if we want this to turn into another episode, which I highly recommend, but you know, that's very interesting. That
Oh yeah, sweatshops and stuff are definitely like a thing
Yeah,
that
well-
people I think overlook because they're so greedy.
sweatshops
Also,
aren't considered
prison
slavery.
Yeah,
Right.
like the whole prison
And neither
rights
is
free
prison.
labor thing. Yeah.
Nobody really talks about that because we
Yeah.
benefit off of it.
Well,
so.
the thing is like they're not legally considered slavery. This is
Right.
what is legally
Because they're being
considered
paid.
slavery, and it's mostly sex trafficking, which is something that's kind of very current.
That's definitely something else we have to talk about too, for sure. Pizzagate
But,
and all that jazz,
you know,
definitely.
1/4 being children, 75% being women. So basically, all of them are women and children.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, that's
let's-
definitely something to consider.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
should definitely start speaking on these things. Kind of reiterates the construct of sexism in our country and how women are more susceptible to the dangers of society. Anyway, next.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap up with our topic of the evening. We have Carrissa here, and Carrissa, we'd love to like just talk about albinism. And
Yes.
I think Morgan, you want to sort of like set up like this topic, and
I can lead off.
All right, what's up?
So I guess to start off with, why don't we start off by you explaining what it is? Because, you know, people usually know, I think, the physical, like, you know, when they think of someone with albinism, they're like, oh yeah, somebody who's just like pale, but go ahead and like, I guess, explain it in more detail for people who are, you know, a little more ignorant about it.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this towards me so I'm not just like leaning hecka far the whole time. So I was born with a genetic condition called albinism. It is a hereditary genetic disorder. So that means both your mother and father have to carry the gene in order for it to be expressed. Even then, it's only a 1 in 4 chance that your child is going to be born with albinism. So there very well is a possibility that even you guys could carry the gene, but you've never had the proper like matchup in your past in your family. So the basis of it is that my body does not produce melanin the way that it should. It's not that my body isn't capable of holding it. It's just I don't make it. So got lost. My train of thought got lost. I do this spiel often, so it's just kind of like going back through the Rolodex in my head of all the things that people ask me.
Yeah.
Relatable.
So another not as well-known side effect of albinism is the fact that most of us are visually impaired. So the general consensus is because we have a condition called nystagmus, our eyes move, but that is a byproduct of the fact that we have an underdeveloped fovea, and we also don't have as much pigment in our eyes. So it has to do with like a combination of we can't absorb as much light, so it's hard for us to see in brighter lighting, and the fact that our foveas are underdeveloped because the gene that was mutated that caused me to not produce melanin is also responsible for eye development in utero. So that's, from a more scientific standpoint, what albinism is. And I hope that answered a lot of questions that were floating around. Also, one more thing that people generally ask. So people sometimes refer to people with albinism as albino. I personally don't refer to myself as albino because I feel like it's a little dehumanizing, and I also feel like there's such a misunderstanding around albinism that it's just better to say a person with albinism, and sometimes you might see me online abbreviate as PWA, as a person with albinism, because I understand it's a lot of words.
Yeah.
So to build off of all of that you've explained, I guess what are like things that people quote unquote know about albinism that like I guess are misconceptions or like they're things that are misunderstood or like you get what I'm trying to ask you.
I understand. I got you. So one of the biggest things that comes to mind, I am mixed, and there's actually a really big misconception that only Black people can express albinism, but in all actuality, it's just a little more noticeable when originally your family, is very melanated. Let's say you're Hispanic, Asian, Black. It's very easy to tell when someone is born with albinism as opposed to like blonde hair, blue-eyed family, like, oh, that one's just a little undercooked, So that's the biggest one that comes to mind.
A little undercooked.
Yeah, I so ignorantly asked, I think the first time that we really met, like how well your hair holds color. Can you clear that up for other ignorant people who may have, shared the same ignorance?
like does she have to bleach her hair to put color in it? Is that what you're asking?
How well her hair like receives and
like hair dye?
Yeah, like holds color.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of like mentioned the little statement while I was explaining albinism in general, that we just don't produce the melanin. We're very capable of holding pigment.
Yeah.
So our hair is the same way. I mean, a variety of factors can affect how well your hair accepts color, and that is the albinism has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I kind of have a question.
I think we all had questions.
We all have questions. Well, you guys ask her stuff. I've been asking her things. Yeah, go ahead, Velvet.
Okay, it's me. So at what point, or like how old were you when you realized that you were like considered different?
So I feel like there's kind of like a two-part answer to that, because from a very young age, I'll say like pre-K, I had a feeling that I was different, but I couldn't quite pinpoint what it was. And to be frank, I don't think that I actually really accepted and understood truly why I was different until a little bit later in life. Like, I'd say, honestly, until I got on social media and really started deciphering how other people viewed me, and like people are a little more bold on social media. So I'd say around like 16 to 18, I really started to understand, oh, wait a minute, people don't view me. I've been othered for like several different factors, albinism, and in certain situations, having a visual impairment being those factors.
I find it interesting, the parallels that like you and I have coming from like, I know obviously it's not the same thing, but like coming from the trans community, like having to constantly like basically tiptoe around questions and being put in that other category. Once you were able to acknowledge and like once people were able to understand that you have albinism, how did they treat you differently, or did you like see people behaving differently once they realized that you are actually a Black woman?
I mean, almost. So in certain situations, it was almost cartoonish, because I was kind of then, in certain situations, put into the category of the token Black friend with a little twist.
Yeah.
So I then became the token Black friend when the narrative fit, but also they wouldn't hold back some of their prejudices for darker skinned people around me because my pale skin would make them comfortable.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, is it? Can you give like an example? Is it something where like, or is it just like right on the nose what you just said? Is it something where being around those people, they would say something like wild racist, but then be like, oh wait, but not you, because you know.
It's never been so blatant, but I can tell you a bit of a story where I officially realized that people don't see me as the other black folks. So it was a Super Bowl party and around middle school, and I wasn't old enough to drive, and even if I would have been, I can't get a license anyway because of the vision. But it was like a church thing, so I didn't really know anybody. But I'll say my friend's older sister. She drove me home, and she hit a certain part of town here in Griffin and locked her doors and let up her windows.
We don't want what you got. I live in that part of town.
Exactly. Like, you're not going to get robbed in the hood. Like, the people are going to go to the nicer neighborhoods to try to run your pockets if they really want to.
You're not going to get robbed in your car.
Fair
Right.
enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. I was going to say, like, you're not going to be driving through the hood and get robbed.
Right.
You know what I meant. But, point being, like, it's just I'd see a disparity in how I was treated versus, like I said, other POC who had a little more melanin in their skin.
Yeah.
So to build off of that, do you feel like you benefit from white privilege at all?
I
Considering
can't
you appear
say
white?
that I don't, because even though I've gone natural and I'm very vocal about the fact that I'm not just purely Caucasian, I can't change how other people perceive me when I walk into the
Exactly.
store.
Yes, a lot of people look at you and they're like, that's a white woman.
But also, I have very unique struggles that people on both sides just don't understand. And honestly, there are more struggles that seem to be more unique with mixed people in general, just feeling like you're in that purgatory.
Like you're not white enough, but you're also not black enough.
Exactly. So they're not necessarily unique to having albinism, but maybe more so because the complete lack of melanin does open the door to people to literally be like, you're not black because you're not black, and that's on period. Like, well, someone who's saying that isn't talking like that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That sort of leads into one of the questions I had. But then, like, before the show, you sort of blew my mind. So I had to add this in, too. But, before we recorded, we met, we hung out. And I was like, yo, we were talking about the Nintendo Switch, talking about, Breath of the Wild, which I feel is overrated. But that's neither here nor there. You can catch me on Should I Play That about that. We talked about some anime. We talked about just a lot of stuff. And I don't know. It popped up. I was like, I wonder, like, what is it like being a black female nerd? Because I originally asked black nerd, and then you were like, yo, female nerd. Like, being female was a whole thing. And I was like, oh, shoot. It's
I
true.
honestly feel like I broke into somebody's house and I'm tiptoeing around all the time. Like, I do not feel like I belong in the nerd space for several reasons. And I feel like my opinions on things aren't taken as seriously as, your white anime enthusiasts, or your, like, just white people in nerd spaces, or like your men. It's just, and it might be too, honestly, I could attest that it could be a little bit too, like, my anxiety in general, just being very, like, I'm the one that's going to step away when I feel threatened, and I'm not going to be very, like, confrontational about it in general, but I often, like, just my voice is lost in a lot of conversations in the nerd space.
yeah. I could see that. Yeah. I could see your voice being erased in a lot of spaces, though. But, like,
Except for when it's convenient for other people.
well, like, coming from, like, I can only obviously speak from my experiences, but, like, coming from a position where, like, I never really fully saw myself as, like, white because of my heritage, it kind of got annoying whenever people are like, well, you're white, because it was like, but it never feels good to benefit from white privilege if you have a moral compass at all. So eventually I had to acknowledge that and be like, yeah, you see me as white and I benefit from that, but it doesn't feel good because I'm not. And, being put into that other category as a trans individual, you start to see, like, the friends who are like, oh, trans people do this, but not you individually. You're different. And it's because you acknowledge that they don't actually view you as a trans person. I mean, as a woman. So, like, they don't actually view you as a black woman. And, that, like, secondhand struggle, I feel, girl.
I really relate to that sentiment. I remember in middle school, people who weren't black asking me all the questions that they were too scared to ask, quote, real black women. They never said it, but there was always this air. There's always this air. They'd come up to me, so do you wash your hair? And just asking me questions that, like, if they walked up to someone they perceived to be a regular black person, they'd get hit. to be frank, because just it's rude and just like the assumptions and all that. That's what I kind of meant. Like people felt comfortable with my skin tone to like act their true colors out.
Yeah, as if your blackness was something that you could jump in and out of.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, you can do things to appear more white, but that's not you jumping out of your blackness. That's you having a furthered black struggle, which is a struggle that, you know, all black women really face, which is, you know, making your natural hair, you know, more European appearing. So, I mean, I feel that. You've come a long way. I like it.
And I had one more question. How do you feel about albinism representation in the media?
So, as of recently, like, I mean, really recently, I feel like representation from the albinism community has come a long way. But up until more recently, the media, it's been atrocious. They've always been the butt of jokes. And then when there was a character to have albinism, half the time they wouldn't actually have albinism. They just paint somebody white. I've seen that happen a lot.
What?
It's obscene. It is very obscene. And then the person with albinism, they're the butt of the joke. They're scary. They're a villain. Or they just are just a freak, just an apparent freak in the shows. And it's uncomfortable. That's why so many people meet me and they're like, you don't have albinism, you don't have red eyes, or like this or that. Like, are you going to melt in the sun because of the over dramaticism? That goes
along with the misconception thing.
Yeah. Just like the over dramatic negative portrayal of people with albinism in the media up until now.
How do you feel like you are discriminated against sometimes? Like, you know, like what are, like, you feel like there's struggles, like, you know what I mean? As far as just being someone with albinism, like.
I feel like a walking circus at times. I do. It's hard for me to process and understand that some people might be interested in me for anything other than the fact that I have albinism. I have several like situations, like just even going to Walmart. It might sound ungrateful for me to complain about this, but I literally can't go anywhere without someone acknowledging my existence. And for someone with anxiety, which is outside of the albinism, I understand, but it's not helped by any means. Just the constant attention when I'm literally just trying to exist can be overwhelming at times. But and that kind of translates over into like my social media presence and just the fact of like I can't just be Carrissa. I'm always the albino girl, you know?
Explain, you've told me about this before, like in other less developed countries, like how are people with albinism treated? Because we've kind of talked about this before and I want you to tell everybody else about this.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. My first world privilege was showing.
That's okay. That's okay.
My problems are nothing compared to some other people in other countries. There's certain parts of Africa, less developed, where people with albinism are viewed as mystical, magical, whether it be a demon, whether it be an angel, just some type of magical powers. And there's actually several situations, even in the modern day. This is the part that gets me. I'm not telling you folk tales from 50, 100 years ago. Modern day cases where people with albinism have been kidnapped, children more recent. I'm not going to get too graphic, but it's horrific what has happened to some of these children. Graves have been desecrated for body parts. It's honestly obscene and crazy that more of the world doesn't know about this. And I get, like, it's not an issue that we really have in America, so it's easy to not, like, we're not necessarily looking to every single issue in every single country. But it's just crazy that most people barely know about albinism in the first place, so they can't even scratch the surface to some of the struggles that they have in other countries.
They know enough about it to put it on a Dove commercial, though.
They know enough about it to put it in a natural
Which
hair
means that we can know
campaign.
enough about it to give you the respect that you deserve as a community.
Yeah.
Hey, Velvet, yeah.
Yeah, so
going off what you just said, like literally other than, we were talking about him the other day, but I forgot his name already. Sean Ross. Okay. Sorry. Literally other than him, the first, like, I guess, not even experience, but like the first like knowledge I had of a person with albinism is literally what you were just talking about the people with the people in Africa. And
so you had heard about this before.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like literally other than Sean Ross, that's like the first like thing I would hear about people with albinism was the thing about what you just mentioned. And yeah, it is really, really graphic. And then like once I started, once I saw Sean Ross, it was like, because backtracking a little bit. When I first saw the whole it was a documentary. When I first saw that, it was kind of like, oh, like does that, or like those people, like, are they like where, how come I've never seen any of them? Or like where, like I never met someone, right? So then when I saw Sean Ross, I was like, okay, so this is like real. And then in high school, I met, no, was it middle school? It was middle school. In middle school, I met someone with albinism. And then, like, obviously we met years ago, too. But we didn't really, like, meet. We kind of just knew of each other. But, like, it's I don't even know the word. But it's sad.
What you trying to say?
Like, no, like
representation and how
there
little
you go.
educated.
That's what I was going for. Because
People
literally
are so
the first,
like ignorant about it.
exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Is like literally the first, like, the only knowledge I had was about the people in that documentary,
Right?
Until Sean Ross, and then even then, I didn't really know much other
You
than
didn't feel educated. You felt like they were paraded for you to see.
well,
That's how
yeah.
I felt after watching
Yeah.
documentaries I've watched. I
Yeah.
felt like I wasn't educated. I just got to see what they looked like.
And then, and like she just said, like they made them seem like mystical people, and like, you know, all
They
this types of
genuinely
stuff.
think
So,
that
like,
their body parts
yeah.
have magic
Oh,
powers.
I know.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
There is a
So-
transgender individual. She has albinism as well. Her name is Meredith Toulousan, I think. And she has a memoir called The Fairest. And it kind of touches on the fact that anytime there has been a memoir or any type of conversation geared towards people with albinism, it is talked about like albinism and memoir. And she just wanted it to be projected in a way that was like the fairest, or something that was just not albino or albinism, and she didn't want it to be a trans memoir. She just wanted it to be a memoir about the fairest, which was somebody who is viewed as beautiful, but like their experiences are not. And that is so often overlooked. Do you kind of feel a relation to that sentiment that you are the fairest, but your experiences have not been as graceful and beautiful as you were painted out to be?
Yes. So every once in a while, I let certain comments get to me that I get on my social media. And a comment pops into my head in particular when you say that. I've gotten different variations of, "You're so lucky. You got all the good parts of being mixed. You have pale skin and curly hair, and you're just so beautiful." And that is so backhanded to everything in my existence. And sometimes I actually do have almost a resentment to the fact that my claim to fame is the fact that I have albinism. Because, and I say claim to fame loosely, of course, but there's thousands of people in the world that have seen my face, and they view me as that albino girl. And I do have a resentment to that, because I so badly just want to be Carrissa. I want to be a representative for all of the communities I'm a part of, but I also would love to just wake up and be Carrissa and not be seen somewhere and be invisible melanin, the albino girl.
But I see you as an inspiration, because there's all kinds of people with albinism that don't have somebody to speak for them, and you're like that voice for them. So I see where you're coming from, but I also want you to look at it in a positive way, because you're inspiring people
Yes.
too.
I definitely do. If I didn't view it in some sort of a positive way, I wouldn't still put myself
Yeah.
out there in that regard, but I'm not going to lie and say
I truly
wake up.
don't
Well-
believe that like you're becoming famous because of the fact you have albinism. I think your personality has a ton to do with it, and then the fact that you have albinism is also something that you can inspire people with too, but your personality is what draws people to you.
Right. Well, I mean,
100%.
I can understand exactly where you're coming from. I've often been that token trans friend. I'm the one who I've had to dismiss my personal feelings on a matter of just educating people. And a lot of times I've woken up and just like thought, why can't I just be a normal girl? Why can't I just be a normal woman? But it comes down to eventually acknowledging that every girl, every woman, every black person has an individual thing. They go through very similar circumstances. It may not be to the level in which that you and I go through, but they still have their times of being the token girlfriend or the token this, token that, and having to explain things that we really shouldn't have to be explaining in 2020. I mean, there are men who believe that a period is something you can turn on and off, and there are girls every day who have to explain that. So like,
Can I say not a lot of guys? Like those are just stupid.
You would be
people.
shocked.
Those are stupid
You would be
guys.
Christopher,
shocked.
you would be shocked.
Those are
my
just
cousin,
really dumb people.
Chris.
Not a-
Chris,
The
you would be
problem is
so
that we-
surprised.
How about can I defend the guys that
Yes.
like we understand what it is? It's
yeah, but the problem is that now we don't view men who understand female reproductive rights as the not dumb ones. We view you guys as the smart ones.
But it's kind of the fact that like you don't go out of your way to educate yourself, and that's, I mean, honestly, that's my thing with a lot of things. Like, go out of your way to educate. If you
Yeah.
don't know about something, just educate yourself about it. That's with anything.
well, you'll get caught up. I found myself a lot of times just getting caught up in everyday life and enjoying
Yeah.
it, and then out of nowhere, I notice everyone in Walmart's looking at me, or I notice someone pulls me aside and they're like, "Is it okay for me to ask this question?" It's like, girl, I feel you. But our walk of life is here so that way, like, the trans kids who come after me or the people who have albinism and express albinism who come after you are going to have an easier lifestyle because we have been so vocal about where we come from and who we are. So I acknowledge you and all of your black beauty. So anyway, that's my sentiment on that.
Face.
Interrupt my
So make-
ass, somebody.
oh no, I was like, wait, I was making a face. Anybody have any other questions?
No. I mean, do you have anything else to add, I guess,
Yeah.
to your thing? Like, is there anything else that you feel like people need to know or like?
Use this platform
know?
to like say, what you want to say, inspire who you want to
Absolutely.
inspire. Like,
I
Like
just
yours.
want to say a general announcement that it is never okay to touch a black woman's hair, regardless of the amount of melanin that she has. It's just not okay to touch people in
Can you put an
general.
applause for
But
that? Yeah, let's make sure.
I have had my hair in certain hairstyles and literally had people yank my hair to see if it was my real hair before.
Oh my God.
It's insane.
That's
And that's
your
an
real
experience that's
hair.
universal for
I've
a lot of
had-
people with natural hair.
I've had people, I remember when we first met, and I know you said that like I would bring up you quote unquote being black a lot, but it's because I was defensive of you because when we were in school, people would like ask me about you and they'd be like, oh, she's white, right? Like, is her hair just really damaged? Like they would just ask me all this shit. And I'm like, y'all, she is fucking black. Like, come, like, I swear to God, people would ask me about her, like, oh, wow, like, has she just bleached her hair so much that her hair is just, like, damaged? And I'm like, are you fucking serious? So I'm, like, defensive of her to, like, a degree because people literally genuinely asked me that shit.
Well, to be frank, it was damaged because I was relaxing it and straightening it every day, and I just wanted my hair to be straight so bad because I didn't think I could.
You had like a protective hairstyle in your hair, and people were asking me that, and I'm like, you do realize she's black and that this is a sew-in, and she has a protective hairstyle. Like people genuinely looked at you like you were a white woman with just like damaged ass hair.
Oh no, I've gotten that comment before I even started doing protective hairstyles.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I just went with that because I'm just like, oh no, it was damaged. I'll say that. Even now, my hair is damaged. Just his curls hide a lot.
Same.
But it's just the fact that like they don't realize that like, you have textured hair.
No,
because
yeah.
you're half black,
No, I completely understand. 'cause
and
like
they
I
don't
said,
take the
it
time to
happened.
look at
That
you
and like your
be
edges
like,
come in
look,
full force. So I don't know where people are like getting
she's
the
white?
confusion.
Right?
Yeah, but like her edges are like, girl, they're good.
dense.
They're beautiful. They are like,
It's just, I think it's just a matter of people
populated.
just not giving a shit and just being like, that's what it is. That's how I perceive it. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it sucks that we do have to focus so hard on black or white or this or that, but I'm different. I look
Yeah.
different. People they want to categorize so bad.
Yeah.
So and a lot of people don't even understand that albinism exists. That's insane. Like I have so many people that are just like, how do people not know? We learn about this in biology. To be frank, in my personal
learned
biology
about it for
book,
one day.
and not even that, it's one paragraph, one block of paragraph that shows you a picture of a deer with albinism
It's,
beside it.
yeah, it's usually in regards to animals.
Yes, and trans identities get shown not in biology, in psychology.
Yes.
That's so like,
Interesting.
well, I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge that it is a psychological disorder because that makes it real. So conservatives cannot dismiss it as a figment of our imagination.
Right.
However, it should be taught in biology as well because there's a biological
sure.
thing. It is being trans is something you were born with.
For sure. There definitely needs to be more education on Both of those things.
Yes.
That's why, like I said, like earlier with the whole, like my experience with it. Like I don't even remember learning about it in biology, to be very honest. I remember learning, remember the Punnett squares? And we were like told like, hey, this person has albinism. Figure out your Punnett square. But it wasn't like a topic that was discussed.
Yeah.
I don't remember Punnett squares.
And generally, like,
I used to love those.
like for me, I grew up watching Animal Planet, so I'd be like, oh, it's like an albino giraffe, it's an albino python, da, da, da. Like you're so used to seeing like albino animals, quote unquote, but nobody really talks about like people have albinism too.
I don't know. I don't think I already said this, but I just want to clear one thing up. The biggest misconception, I can't believe I forgot about it. People with albinism do not have red eyes. Nobody on this entire planet has red eyes. Our body does not produce a pigment to make the color red. In fact, the reason some people with albinism's eyes can be perceived as red is because there is no pigment. So you can see like the blood and other red things reflecting through the cornea as opposed to the pigment that would usually be embedded inside of it. Fun fact of the day. Also,
That's
people with blue eyes tend to have sensitive eyes to the light as well because there's less melanin, and people with albinism tend to have blue or gray, sometimes even hazel eyes. There's different variations of albinism. Not everybody's going to look like me.
Hazel eyes.
That's what that ties back to the media because the media perceives people with albinism with like red eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
So
okay,
what
for
do you
instance,
think, what do you
It's
think
because
the
animals
media
with-
needs to do? Do we need to?
It's because animals with albinism have red eyes. That's why. I think that's part of the reason why.
But I'm saying like their perception in the media. Like, what's something as a person with albinism? What is something that you want to see the media like change the perception?
We don't even got to talk about the fact that certain people have albinism. I know it sounds contradicting, right? But there's tons of people. I've seen comedians with albinism, models, and just like maybe the ones who are more obviously like, I almost said more obviously albino. So it's even hard for me to not say it because I hear it so often. But who just more obviously have albinism, we just don't even have to talk about it. They can just be normal people. And then, in fact, like just being more frank about the people who don't look quite as pale, who don't have the red eyes, like the representation for people even who somewhat look like me. I don't look like the typical media person with albinism, like up until recently, I've only seen like the palest of the pale, the red eyes, like you were saying, like just more representation within even our just small community would be great.
So like seeing more in like movies, TV shows, like written into these stories because we like I'd love to see like people actually write stories now and make movies that are like fresh ideas and then write in these characters.
So I think a good example of just flawless representation is a little cartoon on Cartoon Network called Craig of the Creek. It's not about him being black. It's not about typical black struggles. He's just a kid chilling out, having fun. Mm-hmm. I think we need to have more actors and models with albinism just having fun and not being the tokens.
What do you? So, I guess like how can we get there? Like, should more people with albinism like step up or like try out for these roles? Should they?
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It just like played so well into this.
Cool. Go ahead.
Dan Bacadel he was in the movie The Heat. Mm-hmm. He's not albino. He does not have albinism. Sorry, and he plays an albino character, a man with albinism, and like he is portraying that person as very evil and very scary and very hateful. And I'm sure that does not help with the narrative.
No, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, I feel like there needs to be both. It's not like there's only room for one type of representation. So there needs to be the character where we don't even have to talk about the fact that the actor has albinism. They're just there.
I think that's the point. We need to get to the point, and it's sort of like what happens with African Americans, with black people. It's just like instead of us being typecasted as the black guy, why can't we just be that guy? Michael B. Jordan, like at one point, I think he's still like this too. He wants his characters that he portrays to just be the character that he portrays. He doesn't want to be typecasted as the black guy anymore. He wants to be that guy, just the person, the character.
That's totally fair because white characters, like it's never pointed out, like their race is never pointed out. Mm-hmm. They're just that character. So why can't everybody else be treated that same way?
Chris kind of was talking about the fact that, if you're going to be able to fill those roles, you need to go out and get those roles. Mm-hmm. Like, there are so many people I meet with albinism this goes all the way back to like why I even put myself out there in the first place. There's so many people with albinism that hide it. There's so many white people, if they dye their hair and their eyebrows, they assimilate right in. We don't got to talk about the fact that they have a visual impairment. That can be something altogether. Like, I mean, people, self-tanners, just like doing your makeup in ways that make you look, quote, normal. And to be frank, oftentimes it doesn't even look right because you're trying so hard to go against how you actually look. It just starts looking crazy. And I just wish that so many people with albinism would realize that you can be beautiful all natural. Like, there's so many, like, okay, we are put on a pedestal of sorts in like certain beauty standards because of the fair skin, the light hair, the bright eyes. And the fact that you can't even see that and you try to hide it it makes me really sad. Like, okay, there are other situations where people hide it for serious reasons, like in countries like Africa, in those certain parts, they try their best to hide it just to assimilate for safety reasons. But in America, there's absolutely no reason why you need to hide the way you actually look. Embrace it, and it's beautiful. Like, I think the biggest takeaway from like my exposure on social media and my albinism is the fact that people appreciate uniqueness. Like,
yeah,
it's inspiring no matter what walk of life you're in. The fact that me and Jade can connect so much on completely different issues, but just for the fact of like just being the main overlying thing being true to yourself and inspiring people and changing people's perceptions, like, there's so much power in that, in just being yourself. And I wish more people in general realize that.
Yes. You don't have to just have albinism or be trans or be a black man or any of that to be an inspiring person, because
absolutely not.
I know that I've said so many times I can't speak on behalf of the entire trans community when I talk about the things that I've gone through as a trans person. So my representation is almost not insignificant, but don't judge your entire perception of the trans community on me, because we're all individuals. And I think the same thing pertains to people with albinism. I'm sure that there are people who have albinism who grew up in very supportive households where they were reminded of their heritage and were given the outlet to express their heritage in a way that was still true to them having albinism. And those people carry different insecurities and carry different like forces and when it comes to targeting certain parts of misconceptions. So with that being said, like, coming from that group where we stick out like a sore thumb, it's so wild that we have no relation towards each other in any community, but we have the same downfalls. We have the same, like, we're held to a standard that we're supposed to educate people on who we are as if they shouldn't be educated before approaching us.
But I will say I commend, both of you for being that person that stands up and educates people. That's also really important, that you're able to communicate how you feel, communicate how other people feel, because I'm pretty sure there'll be plenty of people who will listen to this and say, wow, these are very powerful words. Maybe I should, start on TikTok. Maybe I should start my own podcast, my own YouTube show.
It might even just inspire people to talk to people in their everyday lives too. And
you
just
should also give yourself a pat on the back, because you as a black man have answered a lot of the questions that like I have had or that other people have had that like were a little more deeper, more of how you experienced racism growing up. But you are a very well-spoken and outspoken black man who speaks on a lot of issues that are being targeted towards the black community. So you fit into the same category as the three of us.
I do, but I also I fall into that parallel of what you said before about not representing the black community and as its whole. Because like, for one, there is another side of the black community where they hear me speak. They'll watch this and say, oh, he's speaking white.
Yeah.
So there's that whole side that, unfortunately, like, I can't say that my experiences are the same as theirs.
People crossing the street with you are still going to clutch their purses no matter how you speak. You know what I mean? Like, those racist white people who are going to have issues with people's skin color are still going to target you no matter how well-spoken you are or how white-sounding you are. Can we just acknowledge that is a problem to say anyway?
Oh, no, yeah.
Because that means
I've called
that
people
education is subjective to only white people.
So I'll say this, and that's something that I'll say to those people. They're like, oh, wow, why do you speak so white? So are you saying that being black, I can't speak,
Proper English
with enunciation? Like what you're saying, what you're telling me is that you're dumb. Is that what you're saying? Are you saying, what are you doing? What are you saying?
Have y'all ever been to South Georgia and heard the way these white folks talk? It is not, it's not educated.
Cajun people, there's a lot of white Cajun people, and they are stressful to listen to.
So,
100%.
But then at the same time, I've spoken to people that have super Southern draws, and I'm like, wow, this person is really smart. It's all perception.
Let's not equate like using slang to being educated.
Exactly.
Because I know a lot of really smart people who also use slang when they speak in everyday life, and they're still very educated people.
Well, I think we can also acknowledge. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't looking.
You're fine. I wasn't even looking at you.
Oh, I think we can also acknowledge that, like, because there is a statistic where black people do not have access to the same education that white people have.
Yeah.
So when white people are like, well, why don't they talk like they're educated? Give them fucking education. Or shut up.
It's not even that.
Yeah.
I think it's just the way they, man, it's a lot.
It's about where you grow up, and it's about like who you talk to. Because like, for example, I'm from Georgia. Do I sound like I'm from Georgia?
Yes.
Like, quite honestly. Really though, like, compared to the other people around here in Griffin, do I really sound like I'm from
Comparatively
here?
to everyone else, no. But I've spoken to people, like, whenever I moved in Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't think I sound like I'm from Georgia, but...
You do when you're around, like, other people. But
No, literally, when I'm here, well, this is years ago. Now I definitely have a more Southern thing going on. But
quote unquote.
well, okay, yeah. So when I'm here, people are like, "Oh, you're not from the South, are you?" Because of my accent. But when I go up north, they're like, "Oh, you're not from here, huh?" Because I sound a little more Southern. I do draw my words out sometimes, or I sometimes like here. If sometimes like it. Well, back then I don't do it anymore now. But I used to say sweater or hot dog, shit like that. So people will be like, "Oh, you're not from
I
here."
love that. Hot dog.
Some glizzies.
I feel like I experience a very unique struggle in regards to vernacular and like how I portray myself, especially in the company of people who don't know me. I tend to clean up my act a little bit when I'm on a bigger stage, I've noticed. I tend to minimize like the ebonics. I'll cut out like the references to the culture because I am one of my biggest fears is someone just being like, why is this white girl talking black? My brain could not handle that. My body and soul and spirit could not handle that. So I tend not to listen to rap songs in certain company. I tend to, like I said, clean up the way I talk to an extent because I'm just so anxious that someone's going to say that and I have to go through this whole spiel and just have my blackness trotted all over.
That and the question of what does that mean?
No, but that's a problem that I have too. Is that I will definitely code switch with who I'm surrounded by.
People give her shit if she like is on TikTok singing like a rap song with the N-word in it. She is 100% allowed to fucking say it. She's half black. But people give her shit about it because they're like, oh, you look white. You can't say that.
I always make jokes that I'm going to get in an N-word scandal someday, and that's going to be hilarious.
Let's go ahead and wrap things up.
I just saw it cut off. It's totally fine.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do some, let's wrap things up. Carrissa, anything you want to shout out before heading out?
You mean like socials or something?
Socials, yeah. Anything you're working on, shout things. Yeah, it's the moment.
Well, as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, most people know me from TikTok at Invisible Melanin. I also have Instagram at Carrissa Victoria and Twitter. I made it Auntie Carl because there's literally one character too short to make it any of my other @names. I'm irritated. I'm currently working on an Ulta sponsorship, and I'm super excited. This is my first like national brand recognition, that's exciting.
Nice.
It's for a little natural hair care line called Pattern Beauty by Miss Tracy Ellis Ross. But yeah, that's what I got going on.
I'm so proud of you.
Same. Yeah, I just met you this week,
all are.
and I am in love with you. Like, I just want to say I am so inspired by you, like, in general. You are my shout-out of the week. Like, you're here, but, like, I'm shouting you out. You were wonderful.
That's my friend, y'all.
Thank you for introducing us to her.
All right, so that's gonna be another week of That's Unfortunate, guys. We appreciate you listening. Once again, if you haven't already, follow us on social media. That's Unfortunate Podcast, and then on Twitter, Unfortunate Pod. Once again, shout all of you guys out for following us on YouTube.
200 subscribers.
200 subs, over 8,000 listens. Y'all are listening to us. That is amazing. We appreciate that. And here's many more. We will catch you next week. Have a great week. Peace.